Hello and welcome to a special episode, number 51 of Boston Swap, a Director of Football challenge. The series gameplay ended in the last episode with a dramatic and gutting FA Cup final loss to Chelsea after extra time, with Erling Haaland scoring a late winner. In this episode, we look ahead a year and see what could have happened in two ways. Firstly, I just holidayed through with my manager still at Boston United, just simply ticked the box to use my tactics. The director of football, Mr. Transfer Genius, would still be there, making signings, selling players, assigning the scouts, etc. Secondly, I retired as Boston United manager and then holidayed through the season. We'll take a look at who got the manager's job and how they did. The new manager would naturally take over the transfers and other things away from the director of football. I continued through a few days of the save and the budgets were set shortly after the FA Cup final with almost £77 million available for transfers. Plenty of room in the wage budget too, with £91 million per year given to the manager. Let's take a look at Boston United 12 months into the future, having been managed by a virtual version of myself. If you check the transfers, we can see that the biggest purchase was Axel Robles, an Argentinian striker from Brighton. He's one of the players that the new owner immediately put a £52 million bid in for. The other one rejected the club. Brazilian right-back Vinicius came in from Porto for £44 million, seemingly to replace my regular right-back Carlos Magalhães, who was sold to AFC Bournemouth. Right-sided winger Imanol Calvo cost £35.5 million from Barcelona, with the 21-year-old Spaniard replacing Jonathan David, who was sold for £25 million to Wolves. Spending continued with the purchase of another Brazilian, inside forward Israel Duarte, joined from Chinese club Jiangsu for £34 million. The other main signings, with the total for the window coming to a massive £245 million, were Brazilian midfielder William Henrique, former loanee Greg Belcher, an attacking midfielder from Manchester United, and yet another Brazilian, a goalkeeper, Rafael Silva Marba. My first choice keeper, Gavin Bazunu, left the club to join Everton. Fringe players Simons, Alexov, Osterhaus, Bailey and Wilson were all sold for fees. The Pilgrims have returned to 5th place in the Premier League, which is where we finished in our first season at the top level, and have qualified for the Europa League. 69 goals scored and 69 points won. We lost the same amount of games as last season, however the difference was 8 extra wins. Liverpool won the league again. The club finally has a trophy. We got a little bit of revenge on Chelsea from last season's FA Cup final defeat by beating them at Wembley in the EFL Cup final by 1-0. New boy Axel Robles scored the winner. However, the demons still exist in the FA Cup as we lost in the final once again after extra time. Robles gave BUFC the lead, but Liverpool equalised and then scored the winner on 117 minutes. Still a healthy bank balance despite the massive spending over the season, with the owner providing another decent transfer budget of £56 million for the next season. A very good season for the Pilgrims, 2 domestic cup finals with one of them won, plus a 5th place finish and European qualification. Could a new manager do any better? Let's take a look. Here's a news item after my resignation, being described as a club legend with 7 league wins. The only divisions we didn't win were the Championship and the Premier League. It was expected that West Ham manager Gerardo Seoane would be approached to replace me, with other options being Diego Simeone and Marcelino. Quite a few of my staff members left with me, which is a nice touch. However, my successor was Patrick Vieira, the former Arsenal midfielder. He was actually Arsenal manager in the game from June 2027 for 2 years. Without a club for another 2 years, he took over at Boston. But the Pilgrims finished in a lowly 15th position, just 6 points clear of the relegation zone. Easily the club's worst Premier League finish. A quick check of the job security page sees his status as stable, but I would not expect the new owner to be happy with a lower mid-table position. We can see that the club were only in the relegation zone up to the 3rd game of the season, they did jump up from 17th to 15th on the final day. The new manager spent £150 million, although a third of this was the owner-led signing of Axel Robles from Brighton. Just one other signing of over £20 million, so the transfer strategy has definitely changed, having moved from the original director of football model that we used so successfully. Interestingly, Loni Abdulkadir was signed permanently for less than £20 million, an absolute bargain. The one major sale was Japanese centre-back Masashi Fukai to PSG for £30 million, but just under £100 million was brought in through sales. An early exit to our enemies of Chelsea in the EFL Cup third round by 4-0, having beaten Everton in the second round. A couple of wins in the FA Cup, but no appearance in the final under Patrick Vieira. Championship side Preston North End beat the Pilgrims on penalties in the fifth round. Just 2 players in the squad averaged over a 7 rating. New signing Kevin Iskandar was top, and a player signed whilst I was still manager, Ferrigem, was second. However, he only made the 1 start all season. Top scorer was Arsenal loanee striker Jesue with 10 goals. Axel Robles was 1 behind. A lack of goals in the squad has seen the club fall down the table compared to my managerial reign. Vieira has changed the formation to a 4-3-3 with a defensive midfielder, which is possibly why the team has scored less goals, with more focus on defence than attack. Patrick Vieira has come in, made 1 or 2 brave decisions with signings and sales, but has not reaped any benefits, seeing the Pilgrims slide from my 10th place finish to 15th. I'm not sure how long he will last, but surely he would have been sacked already by now if they weren't wanting him to be in charge for next season. In summary, the effect of a perfect director of football doing transfers is quite obvious. Their negotiating attribute of 20 allows them to sell players for higher fees, as well as having the judging ability to replace them with either a better or cheaper player. Mr. Transfer Genius adapted quickly as we rose through the divisions, bringing in improvements to the squads when required and recognising when to let players' contracts expire. He struggled in the beginning with selling 1 or 2 youth team prospects a year or so early, taking a modest transfer fee in the hope of big sell-ons down the line. The one glaring error was selling 4.5-star ability youth candidate Colmore Flynn at the age of 16 to AFC Bournemouth for £170,000 with no add-ons. This was a huge sum of money for a Northern Premier League club. However, he has gone on to be one of the best Premier League players and just transferred to Manchester United for £83 million during this holiday season. The youth setup has been fantastic all the way through, constantly bringing through a couple of high potential players each season, more so in the lower divisions due to the club's reputation. The success story of the save has to be attacking midfielder Francesco Landine. A generated player in the club's initial squad at the age of 16, he didn't leave the club until they had made the Premier League. He played in and scored at each of the 9 levels of English football that Boston played at. A proper legend of the club, even though he was never really a first choice player at any time. The most league starts he made in a season was 28 in League Two. But now we say goodbye to Football Manager 2020 content and hello to Football Manager 2021, which is released fully on November the 24th. On this channel, we will again be managing Boston United, but in a regular Road to Glory style series, as we aim to take the Pilgrims to the Premier League. If you've enjoyed this series and are looking forward to the next one, please don't forget to leave a like. For more videos, please subscribe. Thank you very much for watching.